If I was gonna star in a movie that I wrote and directed, I'd probably cast Chrissy Chow as my girlfriend too.
你聽到佢講嘢？
兩件事講，一齊嗌，大聲啲，大聲啲。
Hi, welcome to the Silver Spleen. My name is Dan Rottenberg, and this is my review of Yuppie Fantasia 3. Chinese New Year has been my favorite holiday since I moved to Hong Kong almost 12 years ago. Every year, there were several movies that were made specifically for release during the holiday season. They were usually zany, all-age appropriate, cameo-filled comedies about families that would struggle with some problem or other, but always win. There were franchises like All's Well Ends Well and I Love Hong Kong. Sadly, it may be that the Lunar New Year movie is being tossed onto the ash heap of history. There have been fewer and fewer New Year movies that carry on those traditions. This year, there weren't any at all. Patrick Kong's Lucky Fat Man, not a Wilson Chin biopic, was dumb as a box of retarded rocks, and it was about a family, but it wasn't intended to be a Lunar New Year movie. At least I hope it wasn't. Lawrence Chang's Yuppie Fantasia 3 wasn't intended to be a Lunar New Year movie either, but a last-minute marketing decision tried to make it look like one. They didn't need to try because this movie actually fits pretty easily into the tradition, and that's just one of the reasons I appreciate it so much. The original Yuppie Fantasia came out in 1989, followed by the sequel, Brief Encounter in Shinjuku, the following year. It took a while for the third installment, but for me it was worth the wait. Lawrence Cheng plays Foon, the somewhat hapless hero of the franchise. As Part 3 opens, he's been unceremoniously dumped by his wife, who took their daughter with her overseas. He's found the success that she always wanted for him, but at the cost of his pride and dignity. He's become, by his own admission, the dirtiest of rats. This does, however, endear him to his boss, played with a subtle oiliness by Anthony Chan. Foon also has a young colleague, played by Louis Chung, who takes him as a mentor and wants to learn all of his dirty tricks. He also has a young girlfriend, played by Chrissy Chow. Note to self: write and direct a movie in which I star. Immediately. Early on, his wife and daughter return to him, but not as expected. His wife comes home in a box of ashes, and his 8-year-old daughter returns as a very healthy 21-year-old, played by Lorene Tang, a woman in desperate need of a new English name. Latrine, Marine, Listerine, got it? But as long as we're on that topic, the boss's son is played by Baby John Choi, who also needs a new English name. Then again, it doesn't seem to be affecting him in any negative way. Hedwig Tam plays Lorene's cousin, who apparently bats left-handed. That's a euphemism. Yuppie Fantasia 3 was a remarkably entertaining movie. I don't mean that I was surprised by how good it was. Lawrence Cheng's Breakup 100 was one of my favorite movies of 2014. So I admit I had really high expectations going into Yuppie Fantasia 3. What I liked about Breakup 100 is the way that female characters were written like real people instead of cardboard cutouts. In Yuppie Fantasia 3, Chrissy Chow is remarkably real. Yes, she spends a good part of her on-screen time somewhat underdressed, but it always had a contextual and/or comedic function. If I'm honest, I can't really say that I enjoyed Lorene Tang's performance, because honestly there's not much of one going on. It also doesn't help that virtually everyone around her is acting so well, but it often felt like she was just kind of a blank space in the middle of the movie. Okay, a blank space with ample cleavage. As much of a mystery as it might seem, I could give you 36 reasons why she got the role. Speaking of dumb comedy, it's always been a Lunar New Year staple. There's dumb comedy in Yuppie Fantasia 3, but it's smart dumb comedy. It's quick, it's occasionally surprising, and it never seems to drag the movie down. I wish more movies were this dumb. For example, this scene leads to a fairly obvious, pun intended, joke, but the way it's written and performed, it's not insulting. It's funny, like it's supposed to be. The credit for that goes to both the cast and the director. Yuppie Fantasia 3 is also a consciously local film that can still easily be understood and appreciated by people outside of Hong Kong. There's a very local subplot involving real estate developers that is simultaneously local and yet very general. The other social aspect of the movie that I wanted to mention was the way that it touches on local attitudes about homosexuality without preaching or degenerating into stereotype. How good is this movie? I don't generally care for Harriet Young, but when she shows up looking like a low-rent vampira, I didn't even mind, and I can even say she was entertaining. The subtitles in Yuppie Fantasia 3 are also notably very good. I really appreciated the way that the subtitles would parenthetically point out when dialects were being used. The production of the entire movie looks really, really nice, and because of that it really helped me to appreciate the film and even the story more. I also really enjoyed the way that Yuppie Fantasia 3 juggles silly humor, social awareness, and a main storyline that ends up carrying a lot more weight than the movie initially seems to have. Lawrence Cheng's performance as Fun is very human, very entertaining, and at times very affecting. It helps, that I'm a middle-aged man, but this movie was really good in a way that I just didn't expect. Chrissy Chow's performance is just as impressive, but in a different way. Her comic timing and facial expressions are really, really good. Being funny isn't easy. It's a lot harder than most people realize, and Chrissy Chow has developed really impeccable comic timing. Chrissy Chow does funny really, really well. I really appreciate the way that Chrissy Chow has grown as an actress because it's entertaining as hell and I love watching it. But I could say that about everything in Yuppie Fantasia 3. I really enjoyed this movie and I think that you would too. It has some things that you won't expect in it, and I can honestly say it's one of the best local films I've seen in a while. So if you have a chance to watch this movie in the cinema, please go do it. Because as I always say, if we don't support the movies that deserve it, then we get the movies that we deserve. So take the time to go see it in the cinema. If you don't get a chance to do that, wait until you can somehow otherwise pay money for the privilege of watching it, either by renting it or by buying a copy. Don't steal this or any other movie. If you enjoyed my review, please let me know. If you didn't, let me know. What do I care? It's Chinese New Year. If you enjoy the channel, please subscribe because then I'll have more subscribers. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon.